Hey, welcome everybody to the MACC Member Minute. Today we have Paul Jones. He's the owner of the Care Concierge of New England. Hello, Paul. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm all right. Busy time of year for you, I'm sure. Especially after the year we've had, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's been very busy.
So tell us exactly what is it that you do at the Care Concierge of New England?
So the Care Concierge in New England focuses on helping families navigate all the senior care options that are out there. And it sounds simple enough, but just in Massachusetts, there are over 300 different assisted living buildings. And if a family winds up in a crisis situation where now they need to try and figure out, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? What are the differences between these different options or even just buildings out there? They can get very overwhelmed very quickly. And so I use my expertise and I use my knowledge of the industry and of especially the assisted living world to help families figure out where they're going to get the best quality of life and the ability to age in place, either themselves or their loved ones.
Right. So you help them figure out what they need, like if it's an assisted living or a nursing home, or whether they could stay at home and get home care, right? So
Yes.
So what exactly is the difference between an assisted living or whatever it is that they need, like an assisted living or a nursing home, for example?
Good question. So an assisted living community is just that. It's a community setting, which means that it focuses on social model, life enrichment, with that undercurrent of care to help support people 24 hours a day if they need it. And the care is usually scalable. So somebody can come into an assisted living environment and need very little care. They can be basically independent at home, but just sick of shoveling, sick of raking leaves. They're tired of being a homeowner and they want to do something that gives them a little more flexibility and freedom so they can move into an assisted living building with no care needs at all.
Right.
And then as people age in place and need more, even if they need help with cognitive issues or dementia care or anything like that, these buildings are set up to have a campus-style quality of care for people who need to age through the spectrum of different care services that are out there. Skilled nursing homes are a big part of that spectrum, but where assisted living focuses more on life enrichment and less on the medical model, skilled nursing focuses very much on the medical model facility style of care. And there's absolutely a place for that for families, especially folks who have more acute needs or they've reached a part in their life where they just need so much care that quality of life is going to be more tied into how much medical attention they'll be able to give throughout the day. Skilled nursing is the perfect place for that person. I think where families get tripped up a lot is they worry that assisted living is skilled nursing and vice versa, and they're really not the same.
Yeah. So in an assisted living, the people can go out in their own cars and go do what they need to do, or is that?
Sure.
Yeah. So they live their life. They're just in somewhere that there is 24-hour care if they need it.
Yeah.
Right? So.
I was the executive director of a place in Massachusetts, and a good portion of my residents on the assisted living side of the house would, on the weekends, they'd hop in their cars, head down to the Cape, and some of them held down part-time jobs still, just because they wanted to. And yeah,
so they're not
there's
losing their freedom, right?
A lot of freedom.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So now, how do people pay when they go into these facilities?
There's a couple of different ways that people can pay. The first and easiest easiest is maybe the wrong word, but the most direct way is for folks to private pay.
Yeah.
The problem with private paying is that in Massachusetts, the average monthly cost for assisted living is getting around $5,000. That's a huge cost for families to try to countenance. Now, on the other hand, other care options can be up to twice as expensive. So if you want 24-hour home care in the home, you can get it, but you're going to be paying upwards of $10,000 a month for it. So it's just, if it's worth it, go for it. But assisted living, believe it or not, is one of the more affordable options. And so for families that can private pay, they do. Typically, the cost of care may be defrayed by the sale of a home or assets or whatever it might be. But for families that don't have that option, there are an increasing number of programs in the state that they can take advantage of, help them figure out how to mitigate the cost of care. So the
Oh,
PACE, yeah. So the PACE program is one option. That's the program for all-inclusive care for the elderly. Another option is for veterans who served in active wartime or the spouses of veterans who
wow.
served in active wartime. There's the Veterans Aid and Attendance Program. There's the Group Adult Foster Care Program. And one thing that families ask me all the time is, will Medicaid, will Mass Health pay for assisted living? Typically, no. There are some communities in the state which will accept Mass Health under very certain circumstances. But for the most part, you're going to have better luck exploring these other options to try and defray the cost of care.
Yeah. I have to say it's a daunting task for families to delve into this part of their life when their parents are elderly, and it's come where they have to make a decision, right?
Right.
And you have contacts in all the assisted livings, all the nursing homes, everywhere actually, right?
Just about. I mean, I work in Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. Um, so I have over 350 assisted living partners between those three states. I don't work in the entirety of Massachusetts. I work up to Worcester, over to Newton, down to Dartmouth, and then
Right.
back over. But just in that chunk of Massachusetts, there are a lot of options for people to try and navigate. And again, people usually come to me in terms of a crisis and what do I do and how do I do it.
Yeah.
And I don't charge my clients for my services. So I do encourage folks to, hey, just reach out right away and let's talk about these different services that are out there.
It's just knowledge is power, you know. And if you have somebody like you helping them along the way, that's priceless, right?
I hope so.
I know. So how do people get a hold of you, Paul?
The best way to get in touch with me is via email or text. My email address is paul@careconcierge, for New England.com, or people can text me directly, 401-216-6049.
Okay.
My office line is also listed on my website, and I encourage people to check my website out. That's careconcierge.com. And if anybody ever has any questions, just generally about the senior care world and what it's like now and what might be happening in the future, just give me a call.
Right. And so I forgot to ask you, when is the right time to look for senior care for your parents?
Really, if you wake up in the morning and you say, geez, I think maybe within a year or two, mom or dad might need to look at assisted living, call me that day. Because if you've started thinking that through, chances are you've started noticing things that are indicative of your loved one who would benefit from some type of support, be it in the home or in a community setting. And look, now that things are starting to open back up post, vaccines becoming widely available, senior centers are going to be reopening. We're going to be able to do more programs out in the community. And so folks are going to have more options to stay engaged and involved in their community. And that's a great thing. And that's going to help people stay healthier longer. But the number one call I get from people is when they're in crisis.
Right.
They're already at the emergency room. The social worker has told them, mom or dad can't go home. Here's a list of places. Good luck.
Yeah.
And that list of places is almost never up to date. I just talked with someone the other day who they were handed a list by a social worker, and most of the places had new teams in place, or they had changed names, or their license had lapsed. It's not the social worker's fault.
Yeah.
This industry moves quickly.
It does.
And so if you think you need help anytime soon, and that can be a year, it can be a year and a half, it can be next month, give me a call. At least start getting your options in place now.
Right. And there's no cost to have a conversation with you, Paul, right? Yeah. It's such a huge thing. I actually have somebody in my family who are going through the same thing right now. And it's, you feel guilty.
Sure.
Your parent needs to go somewhere and that you can't take care of them yourself. But sometimes that's not, you have to think what's best for them.
You do, but even more so, I seldom worry about the people I help get into assisted living communities. I always worry more about the caregivers.
Yeah.
Because it's usually the caregivers who are giving up sleep, skipping meals, they're burnt out.
Yeah.
And 99% of the time, loved one moves into an assisted living community. There's usually a little acclimation period at first, 2 to 6 weeks, where people are like, what is this?
Right.
Inevitably, that mother or father or brother or friend will look at their loved ones and go, I should have done this years ago.
I know.
Because the perception out there is still, it's a nursing home. They're going to, we're going to be trapped in the hallway and never. No, it's not that. Assisted living in this day and age is basically like living on a cruise ship, but you have people 24 hours a day who can help you with care services if you need them.
Yeah, and they get to meet other people that are living there, the other residents. So they have a social connection too, So, all right, Paul, thank you so much for joining me today. That was enlightening.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Hopefully my kids will put me somewhere nice. And we will talk again soon.
Hope so.
Thanks, Paul.
Bye, Laura.
Bye.